camera or you?
We're just having a conversation.
Got it.
The
No
camera's
camera.
not here. It's a fly on the wall.
Got it. What is
Yeah,
this?
yeah.
My name's Olivia. I'm 19. I don't know if I should say that or not. But I grew up in Calgary, Alberta. I have been kind of traveling ever since I went into the industry that I'm working in right now, which is kind of like photography, like the film industry, fashion. I try to be involved with everything. Want to make myself a bit of a renaissance man, a jack of all trades. I just really like being involved with everything, and like basically making sure I have all the skills to jump on any opportunity I have is something that I've been trying to do. But mainly right now I'm a photographer, primarily on film. It's been a wild last 8 months. I was in nursing, took a swift exit from that, was not enjoying myself, and it's been 8 months of just traveling, meeting the greatest people, doing what I like to be doing, and kind of getting a better picture of what I want to be doing for the rest of my life. But I don't know, we're still learning every day what I'm doing. Yeah, that's everything.
Yeah, nice. And then, so if you're in nursing and then switching to such a creative industry, what made you want to do that switch, and how was the switch going from something so concrete to something where like every day-to-day life is so up in the air?
It was actually like probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. When I was in nursing, I was going through a lot, like mentally. It's really hard to be in an environment where like you're across the world from everything you're familiar with. You're studying something that you don't necessarily want to be studying, and you're not surrounded by necessarily people who have anything in common with you or even care about what you are interested in or what you care about. So it was just kind of a rough environment to be in general. And then I also have like a chronic migraine disorder, so that got really bad. And it got to the point where like I had gone to the hospital I think 7 times for a semester. Yeah, so then that was kind of around the time where I was like, this is not the greatest environment for me, and I kept thinking about how there was basically no other option for the next like 4 years. Like I was going to be doing that for sure. Like my degree was going to be me being in that same spot, like with very little variety there, and like I couldn't even get film developed, so I couldn't do stuff that I would be doing like just as hobbies and that sort of thing. So it was just a really isolating environment, so I decided to leave nursing. Took a lot of convincing with my mom, but eventually we got there. But it was really hard because when I left, I basically went into it saying I'm going to go on a gap year and then I'm going to reevaluate, choose a new major, and then figure it out from there. But when I left nursing, it was almost like I was leaving all of the like expectations from everyone else that had been like projected onto me since I was a kid, because my entire family is involved in like the medical world. Like 3 of my aunts are doctors, my mom works for a pharmaceutical company, my dad worked in data analysis for Alberta Health Services, so it's like the whole thing is just STEM. It's all I'd been really given an option for. So I had to like put all those opinions and expectations aside. Like I had done the thing that everyone wanted me to do, but now it was like, what do I want to do that's for me? And it was so scary because it was like I was reinventing myself. I had to like start from square one. I had to go back to like what it was like when I was a kid and look at the things that I liked to do when I was a kid, because after that it was just all these different like projected things onto me. So I went back to like thinking about how I really loved Lego as a kid. I liked taking photos and that sort of thing. I really liked art, so I kind of started exploring options like that. But I also get really scared when there's situations that like I haven't planned through, and like I would never be someone in the past who would like do something so open-ended. Like I chose nursing because it was a 4-year degree that I knew I had a guaranteed job afterwards. Like I didn't want a degree that was just 4 years and then like maybe another 4 years or maybe a job then. Like I didn't want something like that. I wanted something concrete, and like I went from being someone who like needed to know exactly what was happening and needed a blueprint for life to just being like, I don't know what I'm doing in a month, or like people will talk to me and be like, hey, can I book you for a shoot in March if you're in Calgary? And I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna be in Calgary. Like and it's a lot more fun this way. I'd never booked a one-way ticket in my life before this year, and I've been doing that a lot lately. It's been a lot of fun. And I think going into it like no expectations like gives you so much more room for growth and that sort of thing too. Yeah. It's been fun.
Yeah, 100%. And how did it feel like when you made that decision and you talked to your mom and your dad and like you're like, this is what I'm doing, and then you had your very first booking? Like how did it feel like just knowing that you made that choice and now you no longer have to follow this kind of pathway that's been already created for you and you're on your own path? Like how did that feel?
Well, I mean, it was really hard with my parents, I'm not gonna lie, in the beginning. Like, it's definitely been something that my mom's come around to a lot. And she's become a lot more supportive of it, but I think it's just such an industry that she was not familiar with. Like, it sounds really scary for your daughter to be leaving something that's, like, basically a guaranteed path, a guaranteed, like, career where they're gonna be safe, set, and just be okay, to something that's so open-ended. And, like, we're from Calgary, the entertainment industry doesn't exist here. Like, it's just not something that happens here. If you want to be doing something in the industry, you have to leave Calgary. That's just the way it is. So it was never really an option. Like, people did things like photography, acting, like music, but it was just something that was in another place. That just wasn't here. It wasn't an option. So I left nursing, and then 2 weeks later, I got on a plane and went to London, and I was in Europe for a month. And I think the first time that my mom kind of stepped back and was like, oh, she can actually do this stuff, is when I got asked to go to Germany with Leica and Jason Momoa by one of my best friends. They needed an extra hand with a few things, and my friend Damien, who has done so much for me, basically like put me forward, put my name out there, and they ended up bringing me out there, so I got to meet like all the execs at Leica, the whole team. Got to work on like their 5-person team for a little project, and it was the greatest like experience of my life. And I think that was the first time my mom kind of like stood back and was like, "Oh, this is happening. Like, she's with Aquaman in Germany. Like, what's going on?" So I think that was kind of like one of the first times that they were like, "Oh, okay, this is possible."
Yeah.
And then me moving to New York on like 3 days' notice, that too, and sustaining myself out there for a while.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
How's that been all like? I mean, so much change also mentally can like have such an impact.
Yeah.
How were you able to like find balance with your mental health? Or has it been a constant battle or?
I definitely I didn't have anxiety growing up, and I think that's something that kind of developed in high school, and I've gotten better at regulating it, but like I think that like obviously mental health isn't something that's consistent. I think that's like a common misconception is like people are like, oh, like one day I just won't be depressed. Like things are just like it's a road of just ups and downs. Like that's kind of the way life is, and that's what keeps it interesting. I think one thing that really like helped me out this year when like stuff would get slow or like I felt like a little lost because again like there's not a lot of structure right now. I would think back to like where I was a year ago in my dorm, struggling with like not only my mental health but my physical health, studying something I didn't like in a place that I didn't like, and I was like that kind of helped give me contrast. Another thing that I mentioned before, but I think a lot about what if I put myself in the shoes of like me at 14, if I had known that I was going to do any of this stuff, like if you had told me half the stuff that I had done in the last 8 months, like my 14-year-old head would have exploded. Like it's like I think that kind of helps me kind of keep a perspective on it and focus a lot more on like the positives instead of the negatives, because I think in high school a lot of the time I'd be like, oh, today was horrible, like this bad thing happened, this bad thing happened, this bad thing happened, and now instead of that I'm like, oh, I woke up, like it was nice outside, like didn't have the greatest day in general, but like I got a good email, like I posted something I liked on Instagram, like I got film back. It was just like started focusing on the smaller things, and it just I think it changes your perspective of the world so much, like, and that way like if you focus on just the small little good things, it changes how you see everything so much and you value like little things so much more. But yeah, I think my mental health is I can't say it's like always awesome or always bad, but I think I'm getting to somewhere where I know how to like support myself in the ways like and make sure I know when to step back when I'm getting overwhelmed and those sorts of things.
That's good. And like you have access to like, you know, friends that you're able to talk to them about it and you don't feel alone in any way.
No, I mean like definitely like there can be like I think everyone kind of has a sense of feeling alone sometimes. I think like with me and my family, like when there was that disconnect between like being in the entertainment industry or like wanting to be and everyone else being like STEM majors in Canada, like it was just kind of like it's a huge contrast, and I think it's really hard to see eye to eye on those topics. So like that was kind of hard. Like a lot of things that I would talk to some of my friends I couldn't talk to my mom about. But yeah, like my best friend Adam, like bless his soul, he listens to me all the time, just complain if I like need to rant. He's my person.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I definitely have like a smaller network of people who I trust and I would tell anything. And it's really nice to find people that you can tell like the exciting things in your life too, and instead of them being like, oh, they're bragging, like they'll be like, oh my god, that's so exciting, I'm so happy for you. Like it's really nice to be around people that I could talk about my accomplishments to, and they encourage me instead of being like, you should be humble. Like, I mean, I really do try to be humble, but it's also nice to have like a little bit of positive reinforcement and like be able to tell people like about your accomplishments without feeling guilty.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well then, if we're gonna like just to tie it all out, I mean, usually ask people advice for mental health, but because you've made such a big career change, I think if you could like give someone some sort of like advice on, you know, if they're struggling with a decision or they not happy where they're at and they're looking for change, do you have any advice or anything that you would say based on your experiences that?
I think like, I mean, there's probably a million people who will say the same thing on the internet, but it's like, at the end of the day, it is your life, and like these big decisions, like if it feels like something that you're doing based off of other people's opinions, like it might not be necessarily the greatest option. Like obviously weigh all the options and don't make any rash decisions, but like I think I kind of neglected the creative side of myself for a very long time. And I think it was just like that's why the last 8 months has been so like fast paced. I've been doing so much stuff. I work like triple overtime and I'm happy doing it. I think it's because I'd basically been suppressing that side of myself for so long. I think if you are thinking about leaving, like, I don't know, a certain major that you're doing or something, look into options and like don't completely like think that you need to get a degree for someone else. Like you should be doing what you're doing for yourself. Like at the end of the day, you're the only person you're left with, and I know that's cheesy, but like everyone around you is, again, it's sad, but everyone around you is temporary. You're the only person you're going to be around constantly. So I think making yourself and your life like something that you're happy with is probably one of the like biggest priorities. Like sometimes you need to be selfish, and I feel like that's one of the things that you're allowed to do that.
Incredible. That was very well said.
I don't know about that. Ignore the dyslexia and like verbal diarrhea, but
No, hey, we all have verbal diarrhea, so it's all good.
yeah, I had like a coffee and like my ADHD stuff. We're good.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, thank you so much.
Oh, also,
really
don't be
appreciate
afraid of ADHD meds. I went unmedicated for 18 years, and it has changed my life.
There you go. Hey, I mean, if you want to talk about it, you can talk about it. We're here, but
It's like thinking for the first time properly. It's awesome.
yeah, that was like me for when I took my anxiety medication for the first time. It was like,
I can't do anxiety meds.
no?
No, I tried them once. It made me feel like I was trapped in my own body. Like I literally felt like I was like a skinwalker. Like I was just
wow.
like I literally couldn't like express any emotion. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think meds are just so different for everyone.
Yeah.
For me, it was like breathing for the first time.
Really.
So it's just crazy how everyone has responded so differently.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like that's something if you had, like, a really long, like, childhood, like, if you've always had, like, anxiety pretty prevalent in your life from a really young age. I think since it was a younger thing for me, or sorry, an older thing for me, like, it didn't happen until I was, like, in high school. So I, like, I don't know, the first time I experienced anxiety wasn't like, oh, I went from, like, this is something that I'm constantly feeling. It was just like, oh my god, I'm dying. Like, what's going on? Like, why am I overheating? Like, I used to get really, really bad, like, back pain when I got anxious. And the first time I noticed it is when I would, like, walk home at night when I was in New York, because I used to stay really deep in Queens. And I used to get really stressed out, like, walking back by myself as, like, a 16-year-old, obviously. But, like, I would get, like, super bad back pains, and I always thought it was from, like, carrying my bag. But, like, I found out that, like, literally the muscles in my rib cage and back, like, constrain when I get stressed out, and I had been like literally like just straining my muscles on my back so hard, and that was the first time I was like, oh wow, anxiety is real, like this is bad. So like I don't know, and then I tried to have anxiety meds like one time when I had a panic attack. My mom had some and she was like, oh, try this, like maybe it'll help you out. I was like, I like literally felt like a prisoner in my own body. It was horrible.
Yeah, it's so subjective to the person.
You know what cures mine most of the time? Like 1950s jazz.
Okay.
Like some Ella Fitzgerald, some like Dean Martin, Louis Armstrong. Oh, just it'll cure it every time. Don't know why, but just puts me in a very mellow place.
We like that. Yeah, no, it's the same for me. Every time I go record shopping or put on a record, it just like slows me down and I just relax.
Yeah. Oh, I had a record player and then it broke. I have a couple really cool records. I thrifted. This is the funniest thing I own. It's a record I got for 50 cents in like a small BC town, and it's called 50 Greatest Truck Driving Hits. And like, it's the funniest thing. It has like a giant semi-truck on the front, and it has some of the names where it's like Girl on the Billboard, like all these different, like, it's like truck stop or like gas station bathroom, like the names of them are so funny. And it's like actually a gem. I love it.
So that definitely helps with the anxiety for sure.
Oh yeah, Truck Driving Hits kills.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just.
Is it on Spotify? Can we like
I wonder.
direct people to it or anything?
I think it's like a one and done like record gem.
Oh, okay.
I think it's like limited edition.
You might have to make a Spotify playlist for the listeners.
Yeah, maybe I'll like upload it. Speaking, sorry, upload it. I'll just like make one of those like illegal little.
Yeah.
Oh, I could do SoundCloud.
Yeah.
I'm a SoundCloud rapper now.
Yeah, there you
Add
go.
that to the resume. What don't I do?
Exactly.
You were like, where are you based? And what do you do? I'm like, I don't based. I move all the time. I'm never in the
You're
same
a nomad.
spot.
You're a nomad.
I'm literally, oh yeah, someone said that name. I was like, okay, so when someone said nomad the first time, I thought it meant like hippie. Because like there's like digital nomads
Yeah.
who just like don't do any like technology and stuff apparently. I'm definitely not one of those. My entire career is based off of technology. But I was like, are you calling me a hippie? Like, do I look like I don't shower to you? And so I was like, I'm not a nomad, but now I realize it's someone who just like travels a lot.
Yeah.
I just really don't want to be in Calgary. I think that's what's going on.
Yeah, no. I mean, Calgary's great and all, but for this industry.
It's a great place to grow up, but like, I want out.
Yeah.
Also, once you see Europe for the first time, you're like, why do people live in North America? Like,
Yeah.
like it sucks here. So.
Yeah, so everyone living in North America, you gotta get out.
Sorry, guys. Book your ticket. Us EU citizens, you have nothing on us. I'm still waiting on my passport. Poland, help the Ukrainian refugees and help them get their refugee status so I can apply. We should prioritize them, I agree, but I really do want my passport. Maybe if I just like go knocking on their door when I go to Poland.
That's the way to go.
Hey guys, still here. I'm proficient. Here's my birth certificate. Wow, I can't speak at all today. I was like, super certificate?
You're good. You did an amazing job, honestly.
Thanks.
I think we'll wrap it here and then we'll go out and just do some shooting.
Yeah, I'll take portraits of you too.
Incredible, thank you.
I need to finish this roll before I go to Cuba, because I can't take it through the machine then. And I only have like 7 photos on it, so I can do a quick portrait for you.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was so fun.
It was very fun. Now you can drink your coffee.
I can.